Hello, everyone. Welcome to our show today called 英文. My name is John Drummond, or Yang Holland.
Hello, 大家好，欢迎各位再度来到 英文，我是 Angela.
We have a great episode for you today with my good friend Tuni, who can be found on all the social medias as Tuni Metropolife.
对呀，今天呢，我们邀请到了一位会讲5种语言的越南裔德国创业家 Tuni 来到节目上跟大家做分享哦。那等一下呢，会谈到他的创业过程，跟一路走来他精彩的人生经验。
Thank you, Miss Angela Ma. My guest today is a German-born Vietnamese. She is the co-founder of a digital marketing and branding agency here in Taipei. She is a lover of business, people, traveling, languages, and so much more. So everyone, please welcome my good friend, Tuni.
Hi, John.
What's up, Tuni? I like to high five on the show to make us official. Welcome to NG Nguyen. I am so glad that you can join us today. And Tuni, you are so talented. I think the past few years, as we will dive into kind of all the things that you have been working on, but the past few years you have really been working on kind of building your own company. Is that correct?
Yes.
So can you share with our audience a little bit about what you're doing here in Taiwan and around the world?
访谈一开始呢，来宾 Tuni 分享到，他其实会来到台湾，完完全全呢是一个美丽的意外。那时候呢，他还在丹麦念书，在申请海外交换的时候，本来是想说可以去香港啦、上海或是新加坡，但是不小心滑鼠就给他按错，选到台湾。那又因为当时已经是申请的截止时间那个尾声了，也来不及再改，所以就这样子默默的来到这里了。结果呢，来了之后发现这些东西也太好吃了吧，整个就是彻底的被惊艳到。那后来也在朋友介绍下呢，让 Tuni 在整个学期的海外交流着实体验到了不一样的世界，开心的不得了，觉得说哇，当初这个滑鼠按错选错真的是一个错得很完美哦。我觉得这根本就天注定的啦 Tuni。后来学期结束回到丹麦啊，本来是想说要按照原本计划乖乖念书，然后找工作。但是当地的天气呢，大家也知道丹麦在北欧嘛，就是每天冷得不得了，然后又没有太阳，整个就很让人郁卒。所以最后呢，就在北京、台北两地跑，一边在北京继续念书，一边飞这边创业，就是不想离开台湾就对了。然后连新北政府也都很喜欢他的创业，还发给他跟他的事业合伙人一人一张这个在台工作证哦，让 Tuni 终于可以安心的待在台湾。那至于他们创办的公司是什么性质，我们等一下会再跟各位多聊一点，但大致上呢就是做网络行销的。好了，我们就不要再讲了，赶快来认识这位 Tuni 吧。
So I came to Taiwan 3 years ago, and it was by accident. Actually, I was misclicking my application for a semester abroad, and it just clicked Taiwan, and it was 5 minutes before the deadline. I handed it in, and I ended up in Taiwan. And I did not know what to expect because I never looked at Taiwan. I was like, oh, I'm going to end up in Shanghai or Singapore. That was my business mind back then from a business school in Copenhagen. It's like, that's the big cities you want to be, Hong Kong, Singapore, Shanghai. And I ended up in Taiwan for that reason. And when I got here, I was like, I love it. I love the food. I was landing, I remember that I was landing on a rainy day. I was like, oof, what is this? It's humid. And I was like, I'm hungry. I walked out. There is food. There's a 7-Eleven that's opening 24 hours. I met a friend that happens to be in the city. It was her last night. And she's like, oh, come to ATT. I was like, what is that? And everyone who lives in Taiwan is like, oh, if you end up in ATT or Dunhuai area, you just have a good night. And I did that for a semester. I was like, I love it. It was beautiful, right? You have that, that semester abroad to really get out of your comfort zone. You go back. You finish like business school, or you start working as a consultant. And I went back to Denmark. It's cold. It's -5 degrees. There was no sunlight. I looked outside and I was like, yeah, this ain't it. this is not it.
Not it.
So I graduated and I found my way back. So I was studying in Beijing in a Danish university for the last 2 years, while flying to Taiwan and trying to establish a company here. And since I am very eager to do it on my own, not ask my parents. I started as a startup, although we have an agency and we applied and got an entrepreneur visa. So the city of New Taipei City believed in me, my business partner. They're like, you know what? You get an ARC and you get an ARC. And that was 1.5 years ago. So that's when I started having my business here in Taiwan. We're having international clients. We also had Taiwanese clients. We're helping them with their digital marketing and branding. So a lot of very nice but a bit older gentlemen and ladies are like, oh, so the internet, how do I put an ad up there? Like, how is my face on like Facebook? And how do I put my company there? And we're like, hey, listen, it's more to that. There's also TikTok. There's like so much you can do with your brand. There's so much you can play with. It's very flexible. You can have a personality on the internet and you can reach out to your customers. And we've been doing that for 1.5 years. It's been a wild ride. It's been very exciting. And right now I feel like in the current situation, Taiwan was the best choice I could make, or the best misclick I could have made. So that's how I ended up here. And yeah.
A misclick brought you here. Wow, that is a beautiful story. That's kind of the first time I've heard of somebody like accidentally finding themselves studying abroad in Taiwan or anywhere. But, I'm sort of a believer in kind of the fate and the destiny of those types of things. And, here you are now, 1.5 years into starting up your own company with your business partner, and who is Taiwanese, is that correct?
前面我们讲到呢，Tuni他跟朋友2个人一起在台湾创业，但你知道吗？他跟这位朋友呢，其实是在夜店认识的诶。2个人呢，因为很有缘，后来变成好朋友。那时候呢，本来 Tuni 回去丹麦，回去哥本哈根啊，继续念书，然后朋友回到美国的 Ohio 那边，各自回到2个都是冷到不行的地方，觉得说，哎呀，怎么活啊？这天气实在有够冷的诶。那后来很巧的也是说，刚好2个都很喜欢做行销吼，然后感情又很好，也都想要回来台湾住，所以最后呢，就又回到这里来再续前缘，朝他们的创业梦想前进，想着就算失败了也没有关系，再回到本科系做原本计划要找的工作就好了。所以呢，就这样2个缘分浓厚，在台北的某间夜店里面认识的这个美国 ABC 跟越南裔德国人，就在1年半前呢建立了他们的新创公司。这边有一个形容词大家来认识一下， worst case， 它这是意思是最糟的情况所以等一下 Tuni 说 worst case we go back home and do the things we studied， 就在表达如果创业失败呢，那最坏的打算，最坏的情况就是在各自回到家乡重新找本科系的工作。那一般这个 worst case 它最常看到它跟 scenario 情境一起出现。如果你下次听到有人说 worst case scenario， 那就是在指最坏的情况。好，或者呢大家其实也可以试着用看这个片语 if worst comes to worst。好，它表达呢也是很类似的意思，也是在指如果最坏的情况发生的话。好，例如 Tuni 同样这个情况呢，如果说worst comes to worst, we'll just go back home and start over， 就也是一样在说明如果最坏的情况发生了，我们创业失败了，那就回到家乡再重新来过就好了。
No, she is from the States.
She's
so
from
we
the
both
States.
moved back. I met her in around ATT area. If you live in Taipei, I met her in a club 3 years ago during my semester abroad, doing her gap year. We were young. We're like, oh, this is fun. And then we became friends. And then she ended up in Ohio. I ended up in Copenhagen. We're like, this is not it. And we're like, let's move back. Let's start something that we really like to do. And for me, I at that point knew like I'm not going to be a consultant. I'm not going to work so much that I don't see my kids growing up later on, or don't have any time to do something just for myself and my passion. So I was like, I want to do this because that's something I find joy in. That's like projects I can pick up from different industries. So I always learn, always have challenges. And she's like, you know what? I like marketing too. Let's go back, start this. And worst case, we're going to go back home and do the things that we study. So she is ABC, how you call it, and I'm like German Vietnamese. And we both came here, had no family. We're like, okay, let's try this.
I love that. Yeah, that's a very, that's a story of entrepreneurial like development right there. So Can you share a little bit with our audiences? The focus has been on marketing, like you said, but have you been dealing with certain COVID-related issues with growing the company, or has there been, let's say, something that stands out in your mind that you are very proud of that you've overcame this past year and a half?
接下来 Tuni 会提到啊，他们公司很赞的一个地方呢，是大家都可以远端工作。甚至如果连你刚好只是在健身房走跑步机，有没有？你只要手机带着，在手机上动动手指，也一样可以工作。而且这过去1年来呢，因为肺炎疫情的关系嘛，有越来越多的商家呢，希望借由现在这个数位情势，整个这个社区媒体当大的局面呢，来增加销售业绩，让 Tuni 他们的这个数位行销公司有机会把客群逐渐扩展到国际市场上。而且同时也可以借由现在目前的这个全球情势啊，这个在疫情影响下的社会状况，还有一些可能有的人避而不谈的种族议题等等，来教育他们的客户说，在网络行销上啊，这些种种因素都是需要被纳入考量的。尤其是如果你有某个锁定的市场，那这些关键因素就更是格外重要。不是说就只是在网络上发个贴文、贴个图之类就没事了。好，那这段等一下他们用到的这个字 climate， 大家一般知道它的意思可能都是气候嘛，对不对？但是在这边呢，它所表达的有点像是情势，好，或是类似某个时期的一种风气哦，像是等会John说的 political climate， 就可以理解成是政治气候、政治风气。那 social climate 的话，我们可以想成就是我们的讲的这个社会风气，好。或是呢，其实 Tuni 提到的这个 digital landscape， 这个 landscape 在这里的用法也很类似哦。如果你说 political landscape， 那表达出来的其实也跟刚才讲的这个 political climate 意思很接近，就是像政治景象、政治格局。好，但是两者之间还是有些微的差异啦，但基本上表达意思是大致相同的。
I feel like I'm very lucky because our team is very international, so we've been using like the work remotely and working like with our laptops from everywhere. And basically that's what we praise ourselves on. Like, you can join our team, and even like the co-founders, we just work from our laptop, we work from our phone on a treadmill in the gym. So COVID just been helpful because a lot of brands are trying to navigate the digital landscape, and we're like, hey, we're here. And then on the other hand is our clients are now international while we're here in Taiwan. So they appreciate our flexibility. And also, I feel like we were just so lucky to be in Taiwan and have like a more or less normal life. I have my normal habits still, that we're also very fresh and like very energized to deal with all the challenges that 2020 and 2021 has like thrown our way. Like Black Lives Matter was very important for us to educate our clients and also make sure that they understand the importance of not just posting one thing and be like, okay, we're over with it, but like really having fundamental changes. Like, hey, we gotta acknowledge that that's happening in the world or in the markets you're focused on. You can't just ignore it. And if there are a group of people, like people of colors, that are neglected or ignored as a brand, we can't ignore it. We gotta do something internally, like how do we represent it more? How do we do our part? So that was very challenging, but also educational from both sides for us to navigate it, because we're the youngest members of a brand that takes us in, because we're mid-20s, while most of the brands and the managers are a bit more senior, and they're like, oh, we understand why this is not just a trend.
That fine line between, helping your clients understand, the political climate and social climate of, hey, having a brand and building a brand is about, standing for things you believe. And, I think the way you are educating, about Black Lives Matter and stuff like that is a very beautiful trend in the right direction that I see so many of, kind of the mid-20, early 30-year-olds like being like, yo, I stand for this, we stand for justice. And I think that's a beautiful time to be a part of companies like that. So thinking a little bit about the future, maybe 2021 and beyond, are you thinking in terms of sending focus in any one direction?
在这段访谈里呢，Tuni提到他今年为自己设下2个目标，那就是在忙事业的同时，也要找到工作和生活之间的平衡点。 为什么嘞？因为呢，他在过去几年里呢，真的是一直都很冲哦，在专心冲事业之余，还拿了2个硕士。不管做什么事情，他都是额外用心在做。而且除了学业事业要顾好以外，他自己其实在其他各方面也立下了很多目标，整个就是一个把自己生活逼得很紧。所以希望未来呢，除了要达到自己目标以外，也要小心顾虑到平衡的重要性，以免适得其反，什么都做不好。那另外他也有提到，除了目前在经营的新创公司以外呢，其实自己跟合伙人还有另外在试着创造一个全新的品牌哦。他们计划在环境永续发展这一块也参一咖，想说呢可以让更多人知道环境保育的重要性。
Well, of course, like as a business, I want to grow on a scale, but what I wrote down as like the goal for this year is doing it in a balanced and mindful way, because I've been like on 110% the last 3 to 5 years, I would say. So I was getting diplomas and I was getting like 2 master degrees while building the business. And I was like having like the goals for my own fitness and this and that, and then my own personal brand and social media. And I feel like it's good to still challenge yourself and still grow, but be mindful. Just to do it in a way that's slower, because at one point you might burn out, at one point you might lose interest in what you actually want to do because you push yourself too hard, you have all these expectations. And another thing I want to focus on is that I want to start something completely new. It's not an agency, but an actual brand that me and my business partner trust in, and we want to do something that's more sustainable and environmental friendly. There is something bigger to take care of than yourself, so I try to find my way around that without overwhelming myself, because, you know, you're still important. So I'll see how that goes, but I'm very optimistic.
Yeah, this is beautiful. Yeah, and, you know, finding that balance between being ambitious and having self-care and knowing when you're maybe a little bit too ambitious is a really, it's a good sign of maturity. And I think, you know, that's how founders, co-founders, and, you know, the entrepreneurial scene, that's how you can sustain in this climate. So congratulations for all of that. And I'm so happy you're also kind of creating an ecosystem, it sounds like. I mean, obviously you have such experience with business and more of the branding side and the marketing side, but now creating a physical product, which I love. And you're focusing on sustainability and environmentalism. And I'm excited to see what this product will be in the future. If you don't mind, can we switch gears a little bit into the story of Tuni? So earlier in the episode, you mentioned you are German-born Vietnamese.
Yes.
So yes, you were born in Germany, and your blood is Vietnamese, and you also speak, I believe, 5 languages. Is that correct? 5 languages, and now you are in Taiwan. So where do we begin? I think we should begin with if we're focusing on kind of language development, what are some things that have helped you learn your 5 languages over the years?
再来 Tuni 分享到他其实会讲5种语言哦。大家记不记得前面有没有提到他是越南裔德国人，所以其实在家里面讲德文讲越南话是少不了的。那加上因为在欧洲的学校正常都会要求除了要讲英文以外还要会其他外语，所以他也就在环境的这个波比之下学了越南话、德文、法文还有英文4种语言。那后来为了想说要实际去磨练自己的法文和英文，就跑去法国和澳洲，在2边都待过。那最后在落脚台湾之前呢，因为是在丹麦的哥本哈根念书念大学嘛，所以其实除了刚才的那4种语言以外，他也会讲丹麦语。然后现在如果再加上中文的话，其实就是6种语言嘞，真是一个 polyglot 很惊人哦。而且也因为有这些语言能力啊，让他体会到说，人家常讲的那个每个语言都有每个不同的文化个性，真的是这样子就是说今天你讲英文可能表现出来的是一种英语系国家的人会保有的性格，那讲德文的话，那你展现出来的可能又是德国人那种不一样的个性。所以说语言真的是很有趣的一个东西哦，除了是一种沟通的工具以外，也让我们有机会去认识其他文化。那这边最后John他有提到一个很有意思的这个说法哈，他说当你用对方的母语跟人家交谈的时候，你是在跟对方的心沟通。 但如果是在用对方的第二语言或是母语以外的语言沟通的话呢，那就是在跟对方的大脑说话。我觉得这好像是真的诶，因为讲母语嘛，可能就是比较熟悉，比较容易可以讲到心坎里这样子。用母语以外的语言的时候呢，通常就会是比较会需要先经过大脑思考消化整个意思，相较之下好像就没有讲母语来的亲切。
I think my parents played a big role because my dad is very good in languages. So in our household, even though we're Vietnamese, I grew up bilingual. So we speak German and Vietnamese in our household. And me and my dad, we're like pretty close. He's like my best friend. And we always use German to really talk about deeper things because that language is so beautiful and really describing how you feel, how you see things, or like a situation. There's so many words. Well, Vietnamese is a bit more vague. So if it's about dinner, we're like all Vietnamese. But if it's really about like a political situation or about our emotions or feelings or how much he loves me, a lot of times he expresses in German. So we grew up just like having the balance of both, like and the two beautiful sides of both languages. As I was going, because I was also lucky to live in Europe, so you learn English when you get to like second grade, and then French when you like get to fifth grade, I think. So I just find joy in learning those. So I ended up graduating high school with French as my major, French and English, and I moved to France for a while. Like a week after I graduated, I was like, I don't like Germany. Southern France has better weather. I packed my bag. My parents like, where are you going? I was like, yeah, it's nicer there. And I try to like improve my French that I learned in school because I booked French and going to France was different. Mm-hmm. And as I was going, I was like, oh, well, now I should do the same with English. So I went to Australia for a while. And then in the end, I ended up being in Denmark to study my undergrad. So I was studying in English, but I was like, these people speak a language I don't know, but they sound like very wrong German. So I should maybe learn that. And at that point, my partner was also Danish. And I was like, I want to understand what you talk to your parents about. So I learned Danish. I think there was also, I guess it's personal. It wasn't much like, oh, I need to learn another language. But I was like, as I was going, it's like, oh, this is a chance for you to like get to know another aspect of like the world and then yourself. Because it's very interesting. I read somewhere that your personality changes as well if you change like languages, not entirely, but there's little bits of you that comes out. It's like, that's amazing. So yeah, right now I have like 5 different ways to express myself, and hopefully Mandarin will be number 6, but it's just very, very challenging to learn. And there's always this inner, like the inner feeling of, oh, there's a barrier. It's like, I'm going to be embarrassing if I like pronounce the tones wrong. So I just switched to like, oh, Ting Wudong, and then you switch to English. But I hope Mandarin is going to be number 6.
Yeah. And I love that. And it kind of reminded me, I don't want to butcher the quote, but it's something along the lines of, when you speak to someone in their first language, you're speaking to their heart. When you're speaking to them in their second language, you're speaking to their mind and their brain. And that just reminded me of like, yeah, you know what? You have right now the toolkit to speak to 5 different cultures and speak to their hearts. So I love that. Well, unfortunately, we are coming to our last question here on NG Nguyen. And I just appreciate you making some time for us today. So can you leave our audience and me, because you are dropping some bombs, some wisdom bombs on me as well. Can you leave our audience and myself with, if you could go back in time and talk to a younger Tuni, would there be any advice you give yourself about language, life, anything?
访谈最后 Tuni 提到他觉得人生该来的就是会来，不用去急去赶去因为什么事情没做好而哭啊什么的，尤其像他现在在数位行销这一块工作，更能体会到这个真谛。因为现在这个时代的节奏真的是非常快速你没跟风到，没搭到该搭的那一班时代火车没关系啦，下一班或是下一个属于你的马上就会来，所以不用给自己太大压力，说我要怎么样怎么样才不会输，才不会落人后，才不会怎么样怎么样。像他当时也是因为申请海外交换的时候选错，没有去到本来想去的国家，伤心的不得了。但是后来还不是因为台湾这个美丽的事物给他带来了很精彩的一段人生，让在台湾可以认识一位好朋友，一起创业。 或是像他爸爸50岁了才开始学英文，但也没关系啊，又没有人说是50岁就来不及了，起码他有开始在学了嘛，对不对？每个人都有自己的 timeline， 都有自己的人生进度，好，把自己的进度做好做满才是真的。
I feel like if I were just give myself one advice, anyone, it's like, it's so cliche, but just like you're gonna end up where you're supposed to end up. Like you're gonna misclick your application and cry about it, and then you're gonna end up making the best decision and having a chance to like meet a new culture, learn a new language. So I feel like right now it's so fast-paced. Everything is fast-paced. Even during COVID, all these posts on social media won't help. And working in digital marketing, I can tell too that it doesn't help you feeling like you're enough and you're doing well. But in the end, you're like, you are, because there's no pressure or there's no timeline of certain milestones you have to reach, and you're not going to miss like the train if you don't get into this one. There's the next one coming in 5 minutes. So what I would say is like, you shouldn't stress too much, because you're going to end up where you're supposed to end up. And even like my dad is 50 and he's like, I'm going to pick up English. And he just like puts his navigation system, his phone in English. He's trying to slowly learn it. And it's been a year, and he's starting there. He's getting there. I'm really proud of him. And then sometimes he has a moment to shine, like last year when I came to Taiwan. At the immigration, it was his moment to shine to speak English. And they asked like, oh, how many people? And he said 2. But he forgot to count my sister because there were 3. And the immigration was like, what about your daughter? And he's like, oh, God. But, you get there. So in the end, it's like, as you like enjoy your journey and have more happy, like, moments, you will see that like that's all what matters. You don't have to stress that you have to reach this, you have to learn that until like you're 30, 40, 50. Just like you're gonna end up there eventually in your own timeline.
Beautiful. Nicely said. Thank you for diving deep with us.
Thank you.
And
for having me.
shout out to your dad. Yeah. Hi. And is he in Germany right now?
He's in Germany. Yeah, my family's in Germany.
Awesome. All right. Well, where can people find more of your life on social media and maybe more about your digital marketing agency?
So about when you want to get to know me as a person, I guess like Instagram is the way to go. So Tuni.metropolize. And I think when you want to get to know about like what I do and what my business is about, Argency.com is like our agency's website. Otherwise, just hit me up on IG. I sent you a link.
Nice. Yeah. Tuni, Tuni, if you want to search that on the socials. Awesome, Tuni. Well, thank you again, and we'll be talking to you very soon.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Bye, everyone. Peace.
Bye.
All right. Well, that is our Tuni Nguyen show for today. We hope everyone enjoyed listening to that. You can connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and now Spotify. You can search Tuni Nguyen, or you can search on IG, Tuni English ICRT. And don't forget to tune in every Wednesday morning from 6:30 to 7 and Wednesday night from 9 to 9:30. We'll catch you on the next episode. Bye-bye.
好啦，今天的节目就到这边告一段落啦，感谢各位的收听，别忘了订阅我们的 Spotify 还有 YouTube 频道哦。那喜欢我们节目的话，也要记得到 Instagram 到 IG 上追踪我们哦。如果各位有什么其他问题是想要问来宾的，也请欢迎在底下留言告诉我们，我们一定会想办法帮你问到手。好啦，那就下周在空中相会咯，拜拜。